Okay, a very, very good evening once again, ladies and gentlemen. Hello and welcome to a life-altering session. So I'm making a pretty tall claim. Why is this so life-altering, right? I'm going to give you 3 reasons why I feel this could be life-altering to you, because I have been to Sawan sir sessions in the past, and let me tell you, so many of his insights, they come from so many years of experience, and that has been life-altering for me. So I'm going to give you 3 reasons, yeah, why this is can be life-altering for you. Post-pandemic, the whole world has changed. Do you agree with me that the whole world has changed? 3, 4 years ago, I was a different person. Today, I'm a completely different person. And I think the pandemic's got a huge role to play. And I'm sure your life has changed as well. So this session is going to help you navigate that absolutely better. Okay. And the second reason, the most important reason, if you ask me, the person that I'm going to be talking to you about, the person I'm going to introduce to you about today, is the person who has changed a lot of people's growth trajectory with his wisdom. So you're going to be listening to him. So that is the most important reason this session can be life-altering for you. And the third reason is, my dear friend, you are here. Okay, like we often, say within ourselves, there are no accidents. Okay, and I think one major reason that you chose to be here, I'm sure a lot of them received this email, a lot of them received the Zoom link, but you turned up here. Okay, so grateful that you came up here, and that's the third main reason this could be life-altering for you. And our topic for today is going to be reimagining leadership in a post-pandemic world, creating lasting impact. And our speaker today is Sawan Kapoor, India's leading career coach. So welcome to this engaging session. I love to be back with TCS. The reason I'm saying back is because in March, I had an opportunity to address a lot of you TCSians. In case you were here, a hi from my side. Okay, so we had a super engaging session in which I spoke about healing the inner child. Okay, so that was an amazing session, and the chat box was lit as always, and a lot of engagement. I so look forward to these sessions. Okay, so that reason I'm back. I'm Sulabha Santosh, and I'm very happy to be the moderator, your moderator here for today. And coming back to our speaker today, Sawan Kapoor, it gives me immense pleasure to introduce him to you. India's leading career coach and head of India's oldest and largest lighting solutions company, Kapoor Lamps. And, talking about him, growing his career at an accelerated pace, Sawan rapidly moved through roles of progressive responsibility, and he was appointed the CEO of Sutton and Maxwell within just 8 years of having starting his career. He built his company to a massive US dollars 250 million enterprise from scratch. And it was so amazing, the accelerated pace that he had. He was also awarded the Outstanding Achievement Award at the Consumer Products Marketing Conference in 2011, the industry's highest honor for his contributions and accomplishments. He also serves as a brand ambassador for Khushi, an NGO founded by Kapil Dev. He needs no introduction, ex-captain, cricket captain of the Indian cricket team. And this NGO is dedicated to helping underprivileged women and children. And more than 15 lakh lives have been impacted by this organization. The board of the NGO is represented by Mr. Kapoor's family, the Dalmia Group, the Khaitan Group, the Reddy family of the Apollo Hospitals as well, the Kirloskar Group, the Deccan Herald Group, and so many more. Okay, so now he dedicates his time to helping working professionals all across the world build exceptional careers, and he's on a mission to empower India's most important asset, its diverse and talented workforce. His goal is to help 1 million working professionals find their dream job while making significant and rapid gains in their financial remuneration, their professional satisfaction, and in their work-life balance. How amazing is that? So he has this massive vision for the industry, and that is to double the number of Indian CEOs in leading global firms. He's also the managing director of India's largest decorative and architectural project lighting firm, Kapoor Lampshade Company. Okay, the company is as old as India's independence, and they've done lighting for so many clients. It's a long, long list. I'm going to try and give you a sample. Okay, the Taj Group of Hotels, the ITC Hotels, Government of India, Rashtrapati Bhavan, Ministry of Finance, Embassy Group, the Prime Minister's residence and offices, and so much more. Okay, Sawan has spoken at many leading industry events such as the Super Growth Summit, the Trainer Talk Show, the Career Growth Summit alongside Chad Canfield, Tony Robbins, Brian Tracy, Robert Kiyosaki, Gaur Gopal Das, Chetan Bhagat, Robin Sharma, and several others. Okay, and once again, let me thank Mr. Rajan Pillay for having invited us to this session. And let me also tell you at this point, I think it will be great if you do send this link to another friend and urge them to come along. Okay. Very, very happy to be having Mr. Sawan Kapoor here. I invite you on the dais, sir, India's leading career coach.
Hi there, Sulabha. How are you?
Awesome. How are you?
I'm doing very well. It's been a busy 3 days. I was at the Millennial Mindset Intensive here in Chennai, and it's just been a packed schedule, but very happy to be here. And thanks to Rajan. I can see you, Rajan. How are you? Great, great. Thank you for having us, and wonderful to be here. I think we will do a Q&A at the end. So, I'll spotlight people at that time, and they can ask their questions after we've had a little bit of a chat here. And if you can turn on your cameras, I would say please turn on your cameras, because I'd like to see you. It's always nice to be able to see who I am speaking to. I can see a few of you. I can see Aditya, I can see Sham, I can see Sheikh Tamim, I can see Vishwanath. Excellent. I can see Sivakumar, I can see Suresh, I can see Rahul Pathare, I can see Omkar Singh, I can see Vignesh, Akhil Hada, I can see Balamurugan, I can see Pramod Yadav, I can see Vijay Bhati. Excellent. Lovely. Oh, that's so nice that you're able to turn on your your cameras and we can have a more interactive discussion. So if you are ready to get started, give me a R for ready in the chat box and we will get going. And once again, thanks to you, Rajan, that you put this together and shared it with your colleagues. How gracious and how wonderful. And I'm honored at the opportunity to be able to speak to so many TCSians, certainly a crown jewel in the cap of our IT sector. So wonderful to be here with all of you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that, Sawan sir. And like he said, I last met him at the Career Growth Summit, which is an online summit. And you should see the way he gets bombarded with questions. A lot of them, they know that the answer lies in some of his words, and just a combination of that might work out for them. So I urge you to also never ever let go of the opportunity now that you have him in your midst, and I can see that your questions, so keep them coming, your questions for sure. At the end of it, he is going to try and answer as much as he can. All right. So that's a tip from me. Don't let him go without asking your question now that he's right here. Okay. Because it's very difficult to get good information. How many of you agree with me there? You open Google, so much free information is available, but then good quality information, it's a little difficult, don't you think? Yeah, thank you for agreeing. All right, thank you guys. All right, super. So this is my first question to you, Sawanji. This is like, how do you think, today we are addressing, you're addressing the technology professionals right here. And how do you think they're progressing in their careers, especially towards leadership roles? How should it be that way, And what is the value of hard technical skills, which gets outdated pretty quick in today's fast-paced world, and especially in the technology sector? And at the same time, do you think soft skills are important too? That's something I want to ask you.
Well, that's a great question. I mean, if I've understood you correctly, how do technology professionals design their career to accelerate up the ladder to leadership roles? And what's the value of hard skills versus soft skills? I think both are very important, but it's important to understand how your hard skills and your soft skills are going to fit into the big picture of your career. See, technology is evolving at a never seen before rate. From C++ days to Java to Python to methodologies such as Agile and Scrum, and now we have generative AI. And I'm sure every generation has been able to say this, that the world is evolving at a never seen before pace. But what I would like to add is that, the scale and the pace of technological change, the way it is empowering the world today is truly unprecedented. You were just talking about information. It's hard to find good information, but it's not difficult to find information. And of course, it does place the burden on us to be able to find qualified information. But that said, with the digitization that has gone on in the world in the last 2 to 3 years, and the way that there are technology platforms that are enabling collaboration, the world no longer has as much of an information problem as it has an implementation problem. So to really answer this question with regard to what is the role that your hard skills versus your soft skills play in your career, I think it's important to understand the different stages of your career. So, if you have a full career, you are going to have 6 distinct stages to your career. Now, that's what a 30 to 40-year career will look like. So you start working right out of college. Let's say you start working when you're 20, 21, and then you work till retirement age, which is late 50s, early 60s. So you're going to have that tenure for your career. So when the first stage of your career is the aspiration stage. Now that is the stage when you're stepping out of higher education and you're about to get your first job. You've still not taken up that first role, and there is a certain amount of personal development that should have taken place by that time, where you make the right career choice, because the majority of your waking hours are going to go at the office, with your colleagues. You're going to spend more time with them than you're going to spend with your family. So it's very important to make an appropriate decision with regard to what you really want to do. But unfortunately, the personal development that needs to occur up until that point typically does not occur, and a lot of people land up choosing their career because of some kind of pressure, societal pressure or peer pressure or parental pressure. I mean, there was a time, and maybe the remnants of that time are still on today, where people used to feel ke agar Bhagwan ke darshan honge to IT field mein hi honge. So, a lot of people now, IT offers great careers. Of course, it's one of India's biggest exports, but it's not the right career for everyone. So, it's very important to have that awareness to be able to choose an appropriate career. And if you play the game right over here, then you're going to enter the second stage of your career, which is known as the promise stage. And the promise stage is one where deep expertise should begin to take hold. So, the mandate of that stage is that you have to keep your mouth closed, only open it for questions, and keep your ears and your eyes open. But unfortunately, a lot of people are not able to do that, because when they land up getting that first job, they want to prove that they are adding value. So they'll end up taking actions or getting involved in a manner that is not conducive to building their career appropriately, because in that stage somebody has taken a bet on you. It's the promise of your potential that is driving your value and not your experience, because you're very light on experience. It's your first job. And if you get the game right there, then you enter the third stage, which is known as the momentum stage of your career. Now, this is a make or break stage. And, unfortunately, not everyone will cross this stage. A lot of people, unfortunately, will remain stuck in this stage and may even end their careers in this stage. So it's very important to get this stage right. And what this stage is all about is it's the cementing of your initial reputation. So if you do great work, then that reputation will begin to cement in place. And that will lead to great opportunities. This is also a stage where, firms may start headhunting you. So you may come into demand in that capacity, especially if you know how to network appropriately and, build your personal brand in an appropriate manner. So this is a very critical stage. And if you get the game right here, you enter the fourth stage, which is known as your harvest stage. And as the name implies, you're going to harvest what you sow. So this is a stage that actually creates a lot of options. You can start joining the boards of organizations. You can start joining industry bodies. You can start having a much more meaningful side hustle. You can begin, you can start a small business practice, turn entrepreneur. Because in this stage, you now have a fair base of interpersonal skills and a fair base of your technical expertise, your subject matter knowledge. And if you get the game right here, then you get into what is my favorite stage, which is the fifth stage, and that is the encore stage. Now, this encore, the word encore means, it's that grand finale. It's that one, grand performance. This is where you get to paint your professional masterpiece in terms of your professional life. You get to work on things that, really will be how you will be remembered. So Sundar Pichai is a great example of somebody who at a fairly young age is leading a very powerful encore, where he's the head of one of the largest technology companies in the world. And if you get the game right there, then you get into the sixth stage, which is the legacy stage. And that is really, how you will be remembered. How will people look back at your career? Will you be that shining beacon, as an inspirational example to them? So I can tell you that in the first three stages, that is the aspiration stage, the promise stage, and the momentum stage, your hard skills will have as major a role to play, equally important a role to play as your soft skills. Now, but in that promise on to that momentum stage, there are two additional qualities that need to begin taking shape. And the first one is the ability to build and lead teams, because we don't do anything alone. One of the defining characteristics of leadership is the ability to identify great talent, hire them, train them, and groom them. Train them for the hard knowledge and groom them into the culture of the organization, and then to be able to help them grow their careers and yet be able to retain them. So learning how to build and lead hard, high performance teams is going to be one very critical rite of passage when it comes to moving on from that momentum stage. The second area is going to be understanding how does your responsibilities, how does your everyday tasks connect to the financial statements of the company. And it's very easy to do in certain functions like sales and marketing, some of the front-end functions, but it is harder to do for some of the core operations functions. A lot of operations professionals, like IT professionals, don't fully understand this. They don't understand or have a very limited understanding of how their everyday workload connects with the financial statements of the company. So, I like to give this very simple example. There's a lot to this, but I'll keep it very simple. Let's say there is an IT project that you're going to take on, and that project is going to have a billing value of 1 crore rupees. And the project needs to be done in 4 months. And let's say the total salary cost of the people working on that project is going to be 20 lakh rupees a month. I'm just using small numbers to keep it very, very simple. So in 4 months, if you're paying 20 lakhs in salary a month and everybody's working from home, there are no other administrative or office costs, or they are very, very minor. Let's just make that assumption. Then 4 months into 20 lakhs cost comes to 80 lakh rupees. At the end of 4 months, you deliver the project successfully, you make a profit of 20 lakhs, right? Now they hire a person who understands how their responsibilities connect with the financial statements, and they give him that position of team lead or head of that department or whatever it may be. And because they can engineer better workflows, keep the morale of the people stronger, and bring that efficiency to the workforce, they are able to do that same project in 3 months instead of 4 months. So now the total salary cost incurred is 60 lakhs. And at the end of 3 months, you get that 1 CR in billing value. So now what has happened to the profit? The profit has doubled from 20 lakhs to 40 lakhs, right? In addition, the money came in a month earlier. So there is an interest cost to money. So there is a benefit there as well. The third thing that happened is because you were able to do it in 3 months instead of 4 months, you've saved the organization 1 month worth of man hours or people hours, where they can take on additional projects without adding more resources. So the impact that a professional has on their company's top line, bottom line, and cash flows can be very significant, and all of this can be measured. This will go much beyond just your DSO, which a lot of IT professionals are familiar with. If you actually understand how your role impacts the financial statements, it can be very, very big. So in the first three stages, it's going to be your hard skills are going to play an equal role, a role as important as your soft skills. But then these two qualities need to take over. And then from the harvest stage onwards, which is really the beginning of your senior leadership journey, that is where your soft skills really need to outshine at a whole other level. So this would be my general answer.
Amazing, amazing. So I'm sure a lot of us, like I was also just going through, I was wondering which stage of my career should I actually be in right now versus where am I right now? The 6 stages of career is very interesting, Sawanji.
There isn't a defined time period to every stage. What you need to understand is that you cannot skip any stage, but you can accelerate your journey through a stage. Like, for example, when I was building my career, my rise from an entry level, my first position out of college was a business analyst role, and it paid an entry level salary. But from there to the role of CEO in 8 years was an accelerated journey. And, there were a lot of learnings because you have to create value every single day. Nobody's going to come and gift this to you. And I can tell you, the higher you go, the more silent and the more deadly the politics can become. I can already see a lot of people smiling. So I think I've hit the right chord here.
Absolutely. Sawanji, you sort of, I had this question in mind, and I know you're going to, sort of shut me down, but then I wanted to ask it because I'm sure a lot of them will also have this question like me. I wanted to ask you that, but you already sort of answered it. How do I get to the harvest stage, sir? What is the procedure to get to the harvest stage first, like without going through all the other stages, right, without doing the aspirational promise? How do I get to the harvest stage, please?
Well, there's no magic pill, Sulabha. I mean, you can't go to a chemist shop and ask for a careeromycin tablet or, fix my boss tablet. There's no, give me some slack on the office politics syrup that you can get. So you have to put in the grind of going through all of that to be able to earn the right to get into the harvest stage. But it's a beautiful stage because, now you're beginning to get recognized, in the industry. You start taking on that little bit of a veteran, a little bit of a mini celebrity status, if you played the game right. And it's a beautiful stage because, it creates a tremendous amount of options.
Got it. I love the fix my boss pill, Sawan sir. I'm going to remember that idea for a long time. Well, on that note, okay, if you're right here, thank you for joining us today. Today is a super interesting session by Sawan Kapoor, India's leading career coach. And I'm Sulabha Santosh, and I'm very, very happy to be moderating the session for you today. And if you have any questions, keep them coming. We're going to be answering them at the end. So just note down your question right there, and we'll take those questions. And you could see me. I'm also taking notes right here. That's something that I would suggest, digital or otherwise, because sometimes some ideas can be truly life transforming. And this is from my experience. So Sawan sir, I noted that you were talking about when we go from the harvest stage, from the momentum, when we move on, the soft skills part becomes very, very important. So that's something that I wanted to ask you about. What do you think is the connection between personal development and career development? Or is that just like one of those courses that we need to finish in HR or in a college? Those would be like soft skills. I don't understand what's so soft about it. Do you see the metric being that way? And any tips or tricks? Because you have seen a lot of goats and you have helped a lot of goats, the greatest of all time. So I'm sure we can benefit from your ideas.
Well, thank you. I would say, I mean, the best way to put it is that personal development is going to compound and magnify every area of your life in a way that you cannot fully comprehend right now. It's very easy to intellectually appreciate that good things are going to happen if you're a more personally developed individual. But even though it's a good thing, and generally in such classroom settings or, over Zoom in such settings, it's easy to understand. You cannot fully feel the impact of how it is going to, grow your career and even your personal life. See, there are only three things that we control. You control how you perceive information from the world around you. So how you absorb and take in information from the world around you. Then based on what you have taken in, what decisions you make, right? That's the second thing. So the first is perception, and the second is what decisions you make. And the third thing is, how do you act on those decisions? How do you actually execute the decisions that you took? Now, please understand, when I say that it is outside your real comprehension, what personal development will do to your life, a simple analogy of explaining that is that we don't know what we don't know. So for example, a fish lives in the ocean. And a fish has no concept of land. It does not have the concept that land exists, right? So the scale and pace at which your life is going to be able to upgrade itself is going to be so massive if you play the game right, that it is easy to appreciate, but it's very difficult to understand firsthand. I'll give you an example. So the tallest building in the world is the Burj Khalifa, right? It's in Dubai. Now, if you are standing in downtown Dubai and you're looking around the landscape, you will see a lot of tall buildings, including the towering Burj Khalifa, right? So there's an impressive skyline. You see all of these tall buildings and you see this spire of a building really towering above everything else. But if you put in the effort to climb to the very top of the Burj Khalifa, then how much more can you see? Right? If you're standing on the very tip, at the very top of that building, now your horizon is much greater, right? You can see all of Palm Island, you can see the ocean, you can see all of Dubai. Probably on a clear day, you can see Abu Dhabi, you can see, some other major parts of the UAE. So that is the magnification that is going to occur if you work on your personal development. But to work on your personal development means you have to be very comfortable with being uncomfortable, because when you climb up your own Burj Khalifa, when you climb up your career or in other areas of your life, you are going to be thirsty. You are going to sweat. Your knees are going to pain. You are going to want to stop and rest. You are going to be out of breath. And when you work on your personal development, especially in a systematic manner, what it allows you to do is to take an elevator to the top. So, that's the connection, I would say, between personal development and career development. I think the best way to say it is that the road to career development is paved with personal development. See, if you look at great leaders, you look at an Indra Nui, or you look at Ratan Tata, or you look at Elon Musk, or you look at any leader that you admire. I was going to say Narayan Murthy, but I just realized I'm in a room full of TCS people. So, but any of these leaders that you admire, I would say, see, they were all born as a blank canvas. They were all babies once, right? So it is how they handled the challenges and the difficulties in their life, that the decisions they made, the way they perceived the information, the decisions they made, and then the way they enacted out those decisions, that produced the quality outcomes that creates the reality that they are experiencing in their lives today. And that process can be learned. So, I think a great way to put it is, your capacity for success depends on the manner in which you handle difficulties or challenges or failure. So that would be the fundamental connection between your personal development and your career.
Great. I completely love the way you said being comfortable, being uncomfortable. I think that's something that, many of us have to think about, because it is quite a challenge, right? Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Yeah. So yes, coming back today, we are talking about reimagining leadership in a post-pandemic world, creating lasting impact. This is Sawan Kapoor right here, India's leading career coach, and I'm Sulabha Santosh. I'm moderating the session for you today. Just urging you to keep your questions coming, keep them right. And Anurag tells me, Sulabha, we are TCSers. Okay, I get that. TCSers. I'm going to call you that way.
Okay, TCSers, not TCSers. All right. Okay.
Okay, TCSers, I get it. All right, amazing. So moving on, Sawan, so you did talk about personality development and how that's related to career development, but then can we get like specifically, what do you mean by when you say develop yourself? So how do we get to the Burj Khalifa top? That's the point, right? To achieve that personal development, and also from the perspective on how can it help our career specifically? How do you think that can be done?
Well, think of it this way. There is a version of you that is capable of being a millionaire. In fact, there is a version of you that is capable of being a billionaire. And here I'm, the measurement that I am defining, the metric that I'm using is financial reward, such as becoming a millionaire or a billionaire. And I'm only using that metric of, financial reward because it's very easy to associate with. That metric could just as well be the amount of happiness you have in your life, or the quality of health that you enjoy, or the quality of the relationships that you have. Now, money is not everything, but it's only, intelligent to use that statement when you have a lot of money. Because don't use such philosophical statements when you don't have that bank account. And I say that because money is going to be important to every other area that you think is really important in your life, because at times of difficulty it can be a great protection in your life. But so the only perspective that I'm using this metric from is because it's easy to quantify and easy to relate to. But developing yourself means having a very enlightened consciousness. Okay, so how do you access that level of yourself, that version of yourself that can be the millionaire? May it be a millionaire in terms of happiness or in terms of finances. It means being able to tap into your authenticity, understanding your unique nature and your gift. And everyone has a gift, right? So it is how you serve the world around you. When you understand your authenticity and you take action on bringing your authenticity to life, when you come from that place of elevated consciousness, you begin to serve the world and build momentum. And you're coming from a place of being driven from within. You will welcome even the challenges in the course of that journey. Otherwise, you will always remain dependent on motivation. And the problem with motivation is that motivation is like a drug. It doesn't last. Every time you get started on something major, if you're depending on external motivation, you are going to need a bigger dose, because your mind will build immunity to that motivation, right? But when you're coming from a place that it is my highest priority to do this, then you will not be dependent on external motivation, because motivation is just feedback that you are not aligned with what is most authentic, most genuine, most sincere for you as a priority in your life. So it's this ability to tap into this authenticity that I call personal development. And it's coming to understand your purpose, it's coming to understand your passion, how you're going to allocate your time, because your time is limited. All of the demands of your personal life are also demanding that same time, and all of your professional life is also demanding that same time. So in your professional life, you have a boss, you have a team, you have deadlines, you have projects, you have tasks. And on the personal side, you have a family, you have parents, you have children, you have in-laws, you have friends and family, society that you're a part of. So what are you going to say yes to, and what are you going to say no to? Because all of this is fighting for your limited time, and you cannot create an additional hour in the day. And this applies to all of us. It applies to a beggar on the street. It applies to you and I. It applies to Mukesh Ambani. So the goal here is to understand, how do you create alignment between your passion, your purpose, your priorities? How do you define your priorities and manage your time? Because a lot of things will be important, but which one will you give time to first? Which one will you give time to next? Because these things are going to fundamentally fight for your time at the same time, right? So when you learn how to create the alignment between all of these factors, that is where you begin to tap into that authenticity. And that is what leads to building momentum. And when you begin to build momentum, then that creates impact, and the world rewards you for that impact. So this is what, I would say is, when you understand how to walk this journey in a systematic manner, that is where you can see a magnification in terms of all of the variables important to you in your career. May it be your remuneration, or may it be your professional satisfaction, or may it even be your work-life balance.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for that, Sawan sir. At this point, let me ask you, if you could actually share at what stage of career are you in? Like how many years into your corporate life are you in generally? If that's something that you could key in, I'm sure, we could
Yeah,
sort of.
I started my career in 2000, 2001, and by 2009, I was CEO. I had gone through almost, I would say, maybe 7 or 8 different promotions to get to the position of CEO. And then I ran the company for 4 years. And it was a very successful run. I had I was working with the owner of the enterprise, and I also had a brilliant team. And then I came back to India. I built my career in multiple continents, primarily in North America, and then I was also for parts of my career in Europe, in South America, in Oceania. And then in 2012-13, I came back to India, and I started exploring the job market here just out of fun. I wasn't coming back here to take up a job actually, but just out of fun, I started exploring the job market here, and I generated a couple offers. The first was a very, very senior level role with Mr. Kishore Biani at Future Group, which was doing very well at the time. At that time, they were the most profitable retailer, in India. And the second one was going to be working for Manoj Modi, who's the right-hand man for Reliance Retail, Reliance Industries. And that was also going to be in their FMCG and retail sector. And I was just doing this more out of testing the waters, if this my methodology works in India, and how it will work in India. And when it was successful, that is where I started helping some people just in general in how to build a more systematic career in an accelerated manner. Because these offers were, even at that time, they were I would say a range would be somewhere between 5 to 10 CR type of offers, which even today is a very healthy salary in our country. And then, but the reason I had come back was to take over my family business, and that is where I got into the project vertical, and I built that, and I was working in that for up to about 2018, 2019. And then, that's where I met Success-Gyan, and they said that you've had a fantastic career journey. And, I had a few evenings with my friend Suren, who's the founder and CEO of Success-Gyan, which is India's largest, webinar and seminar company. And he said, you really need to put together a program that can help career professionals, accelerate their journey. And then I took it from there, and we launched in 2020, right after the lockdown was announced. So this happened right in April of 2020, and today, we're almost touching 2.5 lakh students, and it's just been an amazing ride. So my career, I would say, starting in 2001, we're now in 2023. So a little over 20 years is what I've spent in my career.
I still wonder how you're able to manage all of this successfully, because I do understand that your calendar is so blocked with the training sessions that online, and then so many seminars you attend. We were talking about the Millionaire Mind Intensive that you and your team were part of for the last couple of days. So if you want to know of pictures of what he's up to and stuff like that, Sawan.Kapoor on Instagram, that's the ID you can follow him at, and you can find him on all the other social media profiles as well, because pretty active in all those spheres, I should say. Okay, so it's my pleasure here to be moderating this session here with the TCSers and Sawan Kapoor, India's leading career coach. I'm Sulabha Santosh. So today we're talking about reimagining leadership in a post-pandemic world, creating lasting impact. So Sawanji, let me ask you this, as much as we talk about success stories, for every success story we hear, there are thousands who don't make it as well, right? So it's so easy for us to become obsolete in today's this time and age, because at one point we feel AI is taking over. Now I don't know what is taking over, stuff like that. So how, especially in the technology sector, how does one ensure that we don't get obsolete?
Well, that's a great question. I think I alluded to part of this answer a little earlier, where I said that your hard skills are going to be more important or equally important to your soft skills in the first 3 stages of your career, and then the importance of soft skills will begin to overtake the importance of hard skills. Today, if you look at the leaders of technology companies, they don't know every technology, but they know how to lead people and employ people who know how to exploit that technology for the benefit of everyone, right? So I think talking about the obsolescence factor, if you look at the medical profession, a surgeon constantly needs to learn new methods, new technologies, that are taking place in the field of medicine and surgery. First, it was laparoscopic surgery. Then it went to robotic surgery. Then it went to new treatment protocols. I mean, if you look at an area like cardiovascular health, the number of technological innovations that have happened in stent technology, in the way we repair and keep the heart running and create the quality of life that people experience. And it's just one area of many areas within the field of medicine and surgery, that is progressing at the new protocols that are coming up. They're coming up at a great pace, because here the outcome is the preservation of life and improving the quality of life. It's a very dear and a very important outcome for humanity. Now, in other industries, the outcome is not as important if you look at it from a perspective of Maslow's pyramid, Maslow's hierarchy, right? I'm not to say that those industries or sectors are not important, but because the preservation of life is relatively much more important, the learning, the R&D that takes place in that industry is something that other sectors and industries can really learn from. So that's what I would say about the obsolescence factor. It's important to keep yourself updated, but at a certain point, what will take over is your ability to lead people who keep themselves updated. So that's what I would say about keeping yourself relevant as you grow your career. But I talked about this a little earlier as well. The road to career development is paved with personal development, and typically the journey to a C-level role is a 20-25-year journey, right? The ones who are successful learn how to accelerate this journey, and it can be done in 1/3 the time. I've had students who've been able to do it in a very accelerated manner. So successful people, one of the core things that they understand is the strategic value of failure. Failure is not your enemy. If you take a step back and understand the strategic value of failure, failure has actually come into your life to help you become the masterpiece that you are capable of being. A great way of saying it is that the bend in the road is not the end of the road unless you refuse to take the turn, right? So we don't fail when we fall down. We fail when we refuse to get back up. And failure is what gives success its meaning. Kamal to kichad mein hi ugega. The lotus will only blossom in the mud. And there is no successful person that I know of that has not had a difficult past. So people who have been to a gym or who exercise or have seen somebody exercise, they can understand that what are you doing in a gym? You're lifting weights, right? And when you're lifting weights, what are you doing? You're pushing your muscles to that point of failure, because your growth is only going to happen on that boundary of support and challenge. It is when you make your muscle fail that it comes back stronger and bigger, right? So failure is actually elemental to success. Nothing is, in the way. Everything is just on the way. And if you understand that strategic value of failure, then what you begin to understand is that failure gives you the experience to do better the next time, right? So there are only two outcomes. Either you are successful or you are beginning with greater experience the next time. And once you begin to really understand that, and that is how you treat failure when failure shows up in your life, or when challenges or obstacles or hurt, pain, loss, disappointments, rejection, strategy, the tragedies show up in your life, then you really begin to compound and accelerate your success. So that's one thing, that is very critical. The other thing they understand is that success is not the outcome of a single decision. Success requires consistency. It requires stamina. It requires a tremendous amount of focus. No successful person has had an easy path. They've had to go through all of this, right? So you have to have that mindset of consistency to be able to work through to the point where you are going to be successful. Because when you start working on these things, what is going to happen is you're going to meet fear, you're going to meet doubt, you're going to be hesitant, you're going to feel overwhelmed. You are going to have people that are going to be distractions on your journey. You are going to have challenges where everything is going to go off track in a big way. And when you start out on such things, the expectation of results that you are going to have is going to be greater than the actual results that you will be creating and experiencing. So keeping yourself sane, not letting your enthusiasm wane at that point, is going to be very critical. So that's there's no high performance people. There are only high performance mindsets and habits, because it's very easy to aspire for greatness. Whether you want a big bank account, or you want great relationships, you want excellent health, you want a loving family, whatever it is that you're desiring, it's very easy to aspire for those outcomes. Winners and losers can have the same goals. The difference is what process they follow to make that goal a reality. So let's say you have a goal, you want to lose weight. If you want to lose weight, everybody today knows that to lose weight, you have to do dieting and you have to do exercise, right? But your identity gets in the way of that. You have an existing identity. Aapka ek bana hua vajood hai. Okay, you have your identity is how you think, the mindset, the beliefs that you use to look at the world around you. So you want to lose weight, but your identity is lazy. Your identity wants to sit in front of the television and watch Netflix and Amazon Prime and Tata Sky and what have you. So your identity is not going to allow you to follow the process of going to the gym and doing the exercise and making the sacrifice in the kitchen to eat healthier. Then how will you get to the outcome? So what needs to be fixed is your identity. Your identity has to be aligned to allow you to take on that process. And this is what I was talking about earlier as well. And this is the core of personal development. So when you begin to align your identity with the process, that leads to a magnification of the outcomes that you're going to get to. And successful people, as you were saying, are the ones who, get that. So you're right. For every success story that we hear, there are, thousands, if not maybe lakhs, that don't make it. So the best way to put that is that not everyone will become a CEO, but a CEO can come from anywhere. So that probably would be the best way to respond to that.
So beautiful, Savanji. I love the way you said it's the winning mindset, right? Anybody can develop it. We are always looking at winners, and we tend to give them so much of importance that we never look at the winning mindset. Now, that is something we all can model, and that is something that we can make our own, no matter where we come from. That's amazing. That's such a piece of inspiration that I'm going to definitely take. Okay, a lot of questions coming in as well. So keep your questions coming. We're going to try and answer as many, right after the.
I think at the end, we can even do a live. I can spotlight some people and bring them up and let them speak. I think it's always wonderful. I think we're a very blessed country, and our number one asset is our vibrant population. All of these, smiling faces that I'm looking at here. And India is just at an amazing place right now. I mean, I think by the end of this year, we will overtake, if not early next year, we'll overtake Germany, and we will be the 4th largest economy in the world. And then, I think in the next couple of decades, we really have a shot to becoming the number 1 economy in the world. But it's going to take taking amazing decisions consistently for a very long period of time. And how do we become a $5 trillion dollar economy or a $10 trillion economy? You know, we are all of us fellow Indians. I mean, there are people here from Australia, there are people here joining from the United States, from Europe, from many different Indian cities. We are the drops in the ocean of India. So when we invest in ourselves, when we become those lifelong learners, when we begin to work on all of these aspects of ourselves, that is where the quality of who we are as countrymen increases in a manner that no other nation can compare with. And that has already been happening. So we are at an amazingly interesting time, you know, in history. It's just a wonderful time to be alive. And our number one asset is our people, is all of you wonderful folks here.
I love it. I love the way you're so positive about our situation here. And I love it the way you always speak about India as such a positive growth, because we've not grown up listening to that, you know, but now we are. So I actually love that.
You know, recessions and all of that will come and go. The markets grow and the markets fall by a few percentage points here and there. But, you know, for people who gain this mindset, there is always opportunity. And I can tell you personally, you know, I remember when I graduated from university, 9/11 had just happened. It was the attack on the Twin Towers in New York. And it was a very difficult time for, international students to find a job. You were not even going to get an interview. Somehow I got, an interview and I got hired. And then as soon as I started, we had the 2002 dot-com crash. So again, the economy went into, a little bit of a slump. And then as soon as we came out of that, there was the Enron scandal. So the Sarbanes-Oxley Act was pumped up, and it redefined, business standards all across the US. And then we were coming out of that, and there was Hurricane Katrina, which was the biggest natural disaster that happened in that part of the world. And then the economy started doing a little better. And as it picked up pace, we started entering the subprime, mortgage crisis that led to the financial meltdown in 2007, 2008. And I can tell you, during all of this time, I was growing my career, and everybody who reported to me was getting promoted and growing their careers. So it is really not the environment around you. It's the environment inside you that determines what you will be able to create in your life and your career.
Absolutely beautiful. Great. Okay. So, moving on, Savanji, this is something that I wanted to know. As we grow up the leadership ladder, especially, rigidity somewhere sets in and flexibility becomes an issue. And, it's like you're going up the pyramid and so many things get complex, like you were saying, like deadly politics or whatever it is. And do you think a person's ego has a role to play, and especially in personal development? What are your thoughts on that?
Wow, that's a very interesting question. Ego. When your ego is unhealthy, everything will go. And when your ego is healthy, everything will begin coming to you. You'll become a magnet. A healthy ego is able to recognize the light and the darkness in itself. And that is why it is able to respect both the light and the darkness in others. See, I think the best way to answer this is there are 4 sides to your personality. So there is a side to your personality known as your open self. Okay. Now these are behaviors that you are capable of, that you can see in yourself, and the world can also see in you. Okay, so that's why it's called your open self, because you are aware of this side of your personality, and the world is also aware of this side of your personality. Then there is another side to you, which is known as your blind self. Now, these are behaviors that you are capable of that you cannot see, but the world can see. These are things that you do, and these behaviors can sabotage you. You do these things, but you don't recognize that you do them. But the world can clearly see that you do these things. And that is why it's called your blind spot. It's called your blind self. And all of your limiting beliefs, they live in this area, in this blind self. And again, the scale and pace at which you are engaging with your life is defined by how big your blind spot is. This is where you are in the climb up to your Burj Khalifa. Okay. The third area of your personality is what is known as your hidden self. And this is an area where you have done some things or you're capable of doing some things, but you hide these things from the world. That's why it's called the hidden self, because you hide these aspects of your personality, of your truth from the world. And all of the trauma that you have been through in your life, all of the scarring, the emotional upheaval, all of that lives in this area, in this hidden self. All of the abuse that you may have been through. Now, see, when you went through these episodes of trauma or abuse or emotional pain or mental scarring or everything that you faced, at that time, you did not have the tools to be able to deal with the episode. And that is why they are in your hidden self, because they became a repressed memory, or you pushed down that emotion. You don't want to connect with what happened at that time in your life. And you're trying to forget it, or you're trying to push it down. But that in itself is taking up space in the totality of who you are. And if you don't heal that, it becomes a limiter on the scale and pace at which you connect with your life. You want to play your life in millimeters, or you want to play in centimeters, or you want to play in meters or kilometers, or even if you want to play in light years, right? It depends on how clean your hidden self is. Because the idea is not just to disconnect from all of that pain and that guilt and that shame or whatever it is. The idea is to truly process it. That means to fully experience the grief, the sadness that came from that experience. And that could have been a very unfair situation. Bad things can happen to good people. I mean, the world is an unfair place. So don't live under the fallacy that the world will treat you fairly. Personally developing yourself means developing the ability to face unfair situations and situations of extreme complexity and be able to solve them. We have to learn how to win with the hand of cards that we have been dealt, not keep wishing for a different hand of cards. So, I would say this is a very important area that most people don't process. And then it becomes a limiter on the scale of abundance, of happiness, of the quality of relationships, the quality of money, the quality of their health that they experience and enjoy in their life. And you can't argue with your reality. You can't, because if you argue with your reality, you're going to lose 100% of the time. So it's very important to be able to introspect and know how to heal these problems so that you can grow from them. Because somebody who knows how to forgive is someone who knows how to heal. And if you know how to heal, then you are no longer a prisoner of your past. Then you truly learn how to move to the future. So I think that is very, very critical. And then there is a fourth area to your personality, which is your unknown self. Now, good potential and bad potential both can exist in this area as well. And the idea is to be able to bring out the good potential and eliminate, any potentially very harmful behaviors that may otherwise find their way to the surface and move from perception to decisions to actions. So, see, the role of the ego is to become mindful, where you have the emotional mastery to select associating with the thoughts that you're going to then put into action that will help the situation. You have to be driven from a place of calmness and composure and not reacting to your emotions. So, a controlled ego or a healthy ego has that ability. It can step outside of itself and slow down, like watch the thoughts that are going through your mind in slow motion and associate with the thought that will help the situation and not damage the situation. So I would say, this is very critical, because what happens is a lot of people come from a place of reaction and communication problems. I think 95% or even more of communication disagreements or problems that you have with people in your personal life or even in your professional life, it is not because of the content of what you're saying, but it is the manner in which you are saying it. See, if one boils down the concept of leadership to its very essence, then it's about one thing: helping your people and your teams win. And I can tell you, this is one of the biggest unspoken of problems in the corporate world today, where there are too many people in positions of leadership that do not have the true ethos of being a leader. They don't have the qualities to lead. They know how to help that version of you emerge, that hidden Ratan Tata that lives inside you, or that hidden Indra Nui that lives inside you. In fact, there was a survey by the Economic Times, and they were asking about what is the biggest reason for career dissatisfaction. And the number one reason for career dissatisfaction was bad relationships with your boss and your colleagues. So, you have to have an ego that recognizes its own light and darkness, to be able to recognize that in others and come from a place of tremendous mindfulness to be able to guide people through, such situations, because you have to be very comfortable with being uncomfortable. Growth is going to need, transformation. And when you're in a leadership capacity, you're leading others, you're helping bring out that version of others. So, they're going to go through that transformation. So growth needs that transformation, and transformation needs change. And this change happens in little transitions. You have to be able to live with the imperfection in people. You have to, forgive them. You, as a part of a team, you cannot say, I told you so. You cannot insult them. Because the minute you insult someone, their ears will close down. Whatever you have to say is going to go above the person's head. And that's just one communication aspect of leadership. There's a lot of other, metrics and aspects of leadership that you need to cultivate. So your ego is going to fight all of that, because the ego wants to be right. The ego, excuse me, the ego looks for validation. The ego's need to be right is greater than its need to grow. And mindful people are able to control that. So I think that's, I hope I was able to break down that concept a little bit. I know there was a lot there, but I hope I was able to break that down and give you a little better appreciation for what role the ego plays in such a journey, or such a advent.
It is a very, very deep response, Sawanji. And, I love the fact that all major religions and faith also talk about this. And it's interesting to know that a little understanding of our own selves can actually contribute to our career growth as well, because one is not very separate from the other. I love the way you say that the road to career development is paved with personal development. So this is not something we can ignore, right? Amazing. Thank you very much for that. So now coming to a question which is going to make this more practical, because we've had a lot of depth and we've understood a lot of situations. So what do you think the people here right now tuned in, watching this, as a technology expert, as a technology professional, what do you think they can take away right now? If there's something, what can I do to sort of keep this momentum going now that they're in this environment and they are learning? And only these people, because it's amazing, right? So many of them would have got the email, but then you again turned up, and that's something that I'm again going to point out, because it's not every day that we choose to come for these things, but you did today. So they're definitely special. And that way, to reward them, what do you think they need to do to keep the momentum going right now, Sawanji?
In short, work with someone who has already walked that journey before you. See, life is too short to experience everything yourself, right? And the ability to learn from other people's experience is a very critical one, because it truly causes acceleration. Learning the value of feedback is more important than breathing, in my view. And I'm using such a exaggerated statement only to make the point that it is so important, because feedback allows you to reinvent yourself. It increases that capacity that you have to solve unfair situations of greater complexity. And the greater that capacity, the greater the abundance in your life. So the greater your ability to take feedback and understand it and apply it and refine it, and not stop in your journey, the greater the abundance in your life. So if you work with somebody who has already walked this journey before you, you're going to be able to develop a career roadmap and build your professional reality with strategic intent, right? For that matter, even your personal life, it should be built in a manner where you have the end in mind. You know what your life stood for. Because I can tell you, your greatest fear is not, someday becoming old and dying. Your greatest fear is getting to that point and realizing that you never really lived. So, I think whether it's a technology professional or a general working professional, this is the value of mentorship in general. When I was working on, my own in my own corporate life and creating my career, and growing up the corporate ladder, I had a huge inner circle of mentors. And I used to pick all of their brains. And there is a way to being able to do that, to develop that inner circle of mentors, to be able to get the right advice at the right time, to be able to look at yourself. Because the answers don't lie outside you, the answers lie inside you.
How beautiful is that? So then, seek and you shall receive. So that's where we come to that point as well. So kindly keep your questions coming if anybody wants to be spotlighted. I saw a couple of hands go up the previous time. So if there's somebody, yeah. So I'm going to switch off my camera, Savanji, so that you can get their questions.
I would be very happy to take your questions. So Sulabha, should I remove you from the spotlight for a minute here? All right, there you go. If you write to me and tell me I want to ask a question in the chat box, I'd be happy to take any questions that the room has. You can just send me a I in the chat box, and I'll bring you up on the spotlight, and I'll be happy to have a conversation.
Until then, there are some questions that we've got on the chat as well.
Oh, we have.
We have. Okay. Would you like to take some of them, Savanji?
Sure. I mean, if somebody
you're not
wants
able to see the questions.
I'm happy to do that. If you want to read out a few questions and
yes, I could.
Either way is fine.
Okay, I'm going to just read out a question from Natraj. That's the first thing I can just see here. He says, how different is the success story of an introvert and that of an extrovert?
This is a very popular myth that extroverts make it and introverts don't. And there are both types of success stories. There is absolutely no doubt that you can be an introvert and yet, be able to create a great career and a great life. I remember I used to work for a leader in my career who was a very introverted personality. He preferred his own company to the company of others, but yet, he was worth following, and he could develop that feeling in you where you wanted to do things for him, because he came from a place of so much character and so much substance. This man used to lead from the front. He would not put you through a pain that he is not enduring right alongside with you. So, even introverts can go on to make tremendous leaders. In fact, one of the things that we look at is we take people through a couple psychological tests to understand what is the mix of introvert and extrovert in them. We judge them on many different domains and indices to understand how are they absorbing that information from the world around them. Are they an introvert? Are they an extrovert? Are they using the right mix of feelings and logic? Are they using the right mix of intuition? And how do they take decisions? Do they take the decisions based on a judgmental parameter, or do they take it on a perceptive parameter? So there's a lot that we look at, because when you look at leadership, there is certain styles of leadership. And when I work with a student in that capacity, I help them understand what their style is and what is the gap between where they are and what makes a leader, or which leadership style could they really embody. And then also the roadmap to help them get there to that point where they are that version of themselves that is capable of being a millionaire or a billionaire in whatever aspect of their life.
Great. Natraj, hope that answered your question. There's another question from Mukesh. He says, is it possible to become a billionaire in terms of money and happiness at the same time?
Yes, it's absolutely. See, the right question to ask here, and I understand, from the perspective from which, Mukesh is asking that question. The right question here to ask is not that, can you have it all? Can you have tremendous finances, great health? Can you have wonderful relationships, a loving family, colleagues that you truly admire and respect, meaning in your work? That's not the right question to ask. The right question to ask is, are you willing to put in the work for it? Have you taken the decision to be able to follow that process? Because it's very easy to aspire for these things. So the aspiration part is not difficult, but it is putting in the work to get there. And that is a journey that is going to be very uncomfortable. So if you're not willing to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, then it's only an aspiration. And that is how you turn your ideas and your desires, your goals into reality. That's where the rubber hits the road. Execution is the difference between, the ladies and the girls and the men and the boys. So the whole point is, it's great to set up those goals, but you cannot get attached to those goals because your energy is limited. Any energy you spend being attached to those goals is energy you don't have to dedicate to the process. The goals are allowed to inspire you. Absolutely. They can fuel you, but you cannot get overly attached. I mean, almost in every religion, it has been said, karm kar par phal ki ichha chhod de. I mean, do your karma, but don't think about the result. See, if you focus on the result, you're not going to get it. If you focus on the process, the result is guaranteed. So the right question to ask is not, can you have it all? The right question to ask is, have you made up your mind? Because if you're still asking this question, can you have it all? Then let me tell you, you are not engaging with life in a manner where you have the full, you're not playing at the scale and the pace that you're truly capable of playing. Because the beliefs with which you begin will define the journey. And whether you think you can have it all or cannot have it all, you're right in both cases. There is a person known as Elon Musk that exists today. There is a person like Jeff Bezos who exists today. These are not fictional people. They are reality, right? There is any leader that you admire. They exist today, right? Or they existed at a real point in time. Why can you not be that leader? They created that story, right? It wasn't just gifted to them. And some of them came from very, very humble and rather impoverished backgrounds. I think Rajan is asking a question. I can spotlight you, Rajan. Why don't you ask your question live? 1 second here. Rajan, I'm going to ask you to start your camera. There you go. And I'll just put you on menu here. Second. There you go. Okay. I've asked you to unmute as well.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for taking your time out and addressing the TCSers. It's amazing. I think everyone will benefit from it. The question.
Thank you for having me. It was very, very gracious of you to, do this for your colleagues and to invite me here.
Yeah, thanks. Definitely, again, while I've heard you many more in lot more sessions, again, it was excellent to hear you again today. The question I have is, while I went through some of the financial analysis which you taught through in the courses also, so when I'm trying to apply it my own journey of analyzing large organizations from the financial health, it appears a lot more complex than what we learned through. So my question is, how do we improve our ability to analyze large organizations where their balance sheets are a lot more complex, lot more things are hidden or not so clearer? What are they putting under, say, administrative costs, or they have acquisitions, and the way they spread those are very complex to justify their profitability, while there are organizations which are running over 100 years, but still, are they really profitable? How do we compare to their peers, or how do we analyze the organization, position ourselves to deliver value to them? That's the question.
Right. You're asking a question that is quite specific to the program and the course. So not everybody may be able to understand the larger context of it. So I'll just build a little bit of a context so that people can understand it. See, there are when you are looking at opportunities, there are two kinds of job markets. There is, of course, the published job market. These are all of the positions that you see on websites like LinkedIn and on Naukri, on monster.com and all of that. And then there is a whole area called the unpublished job market. Now, these are positions that are never posted. And what I would like to say is, how do you tap into that unpublished job market? So if you look at companies have two types of needs. They have ordinary needs, and these ordinary needs are the needs that you find on a job description. And then you have extraordinary needs that go beyond the job description. So the idea here is to align yourself with these extraordinary needs, the most complicated challenges and opportunities that an organization is facing. And that doesn't only exist at the senior level. It exists at all levels, from entry level to mid-level to the senior level. And they exist in all industries, and they exist in every single business function. And when you do the right type of research, when you do the right financial research, market research, competitive research, credit rating research, then you, and in even industry research, you begin to understand what are these extraordinary needs that a company is facing. Now, what Rajan was talking about is one of the methods of looking at those extraordinary needs, and that comes from financial research. So the way to do this is to really understand, setting up a control group. The only way financial metrics will reveal what insight they can truly give you is by setting up a control group where you are first comparing the financials of the organization with its own performance history to know if these metrics are trending in the right direction. So, you could be looking at ratios such as liquidity ratios or activity ratios or solvency ratios or profitability or even market ratios. And this can be done simply in an Excel sheet, right? So the idea is first to look at the trend. Is it moving in the right direction or not? And that begins to tell you, has that work started or has it not started? Is it an extraordinary need that is already being worked on, or is it not being worked on? The second comparison you have to make is a comparison with direct competitors or people who have the ability to steal market share from you. And that begins to tell you what is the size of the problem or what is the size of the opportunity. And then you truly compare with industry leaders. And when you compare with industry leaders, it begins to tell you how can that opportunity be scaled. So when you're able to do that, and when you set up a systematic, Excel sheet to do all of this, then very quickly, all of these different types of ratios can reveal the insight that goes beyond the job description and really help you target and, market yourself as a much more compelling candidate. And Rajan, if you're stuck at that stage, just reach out to me. I'd be very happy to help you. Just send me an email and I'll be very happy to get back to you with what you need to do next.
Super. So any of you want to actually ask him a question live, you can just raise your hand and Sawan sir will actually spotlight you. All right. While at that, Mr. Singh, he has a question, Sawanji. He says, what are the top 3 points that you would like us to remember and that we can practice immediately?
Singh Saab, what I would say is you have to turn on that intelligence. What were the 3 points that resonated the most with you? I think you would be in a better position to be able to assess what you can use most immediately and what would be low-hanging fruit. But in general, what I would say is that there is always an opportunity to work on wherever you are in your career journey. There is an opportunity to define where you are and to be able to work on the next level. So if you look at leadership, there are multiple levels to leadership. There is a level 1 leader who's a highly capable individual, and this is somebody who's got great work ethic. They make positive contributions. Then there is a level 2 leader. A level 2 leader is somebody who knows how to play in a group setting, right? They're very effective when they are a part of a team. Then there is a level 3 leader. Now, a level 3 leader is a manager. They know how to manage others. They may not necessarily know how to develop the vision, but if you give them a predetermined objective, they are very good at being able to put the team together to monitor the work of everyone to deliver towards that predetermined objective. Then you have a level 4 leader. Now, this is somebody who is definitely in a senior management role. They have a catalytic effect. Their presence itself speeds up the outcomes. And they can inspire people because they lead from the front. So they have the ability to start defining the vision and take people along on that journey. And then you have a level 5 leader. And that level 5 leader is somebody who is a paradoxical blend of great humility and a tremendous will. And these people are the ones who build companies that will live longer than they will. They are the ones who give birth to enduring greatness. So wherever you may be on your leadership journey, the idea is to identify where you are and what will take you to that next level. So if you're a level 1 leader, then you need to learn how to work better in teams and move to a level 2. If you're level 2, then you need to come into a managerial capacity, especially if you want to be a senior leader in a company, because there are no senior leadership positions that are solo positions, right? You're going to have to learn, and writing great software yourself and managing others to write great software, these are 2 entirely different skills. So, this is going to be an essential rite of passage. And then beyond that, how do you begin developing vision? You need to have a fair bit of industry knowledge to understand where is the industry headed? How will the future for this industry look like? And what place will we occupy? Now, if you remember, other technology companies like IBM, they used to manufacture, personal computers, but they got out of it, right? They sold that division off to Lenovo. They don't do that anymore. They are now largely an IT services company. Yes, they do manufacture some servers and mainframes, but they are largely a services company. Because one, it was a financial decision, right? They were not able to do the manufacturing of personal computers as profitably as a Chinese player like Lenovo could. And the second was they felt that the best ROI was in getting into services, because that industry had a better future. It was higher technology. The skill sets and the culture that they have as an organization is able to groom people better for being able to enable outcomes and create solutions in that space. So, a level 4 leader begins to do that. And then, of course, a level 5 leader is a very, very rare kind of leader. So that's what I would say, that, work on your leadership would probably be the one core area. If you were to take one thing away from our discussion today, I would say this would be it.
Great. Okay. Moving on, Nina wants to know, mentioning one's career in multiple stages, like we spoke about the different stages, Savan, she says, how to know in which stage are we now, based on the year of experience, or is it by the role we play? How does one understand that?
The lovely lady's name is?
Nina,
that's a brilliant question. I can tell you, it requires a diagnosis, because there is no standard amount of time that you spend in each stage of your career. It's kind of like not going to a doctor and asking the question, do I have a bacterial infection or do I have a viral infection? Right? So that diagnosis cannot be made until you go to a doctor, because there are certain standard traps and certain solutions associated with the problems that you face in each stage of your career. So, when you work with the right doctor, they are able to diagnose all of that. When you go to a doctor, what do? They ask you questions. Aapka yahan kaise aana hua? What brings you to me, right? And then you say, Dr. Saab, this is the problem that I'm having. This is the pain that I'm experiencing, or my throat is not, feeling well. I'm having a little bit of a congestion. And, they take that research forward into you. And then they may even, give you a physical examination. They'll feel your throat and they check you up with the stethoscope. And eventually they may even order some tests, like, a blood test and all of the reports that they need to be able to make a distinct diagnosis where exactly you are, in which stage of your career you are, and how to be able to break through the limitations that are holding you back. Because, a doctor from that perspective, or even a coach from that perspective, they are not a paid best friend. They're not there to patronize you. They have to help you understand what are the limitations that are holding you back, and have a fairly gentle method of being able to move you past those limitations. But that was an excellent question. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, thank you, Reena. Hope you got your answer. Debajyoti Guha has this question. What is your opinion with career development, with the option having long-term pursuit or aspiration to work in the best brands in the industry while keeping focus on the continuous improvement and growth mindset?
Oh, that's a little bit of a controversial question. Okay. See, companies that have become big, that have created big brands, they're wonderful. There is a lot of success and a lot of momentum that these companies have built. So if you look at big companies, like if you look at a company like yours, like TCS, or you look at another company in another industry, you look at PepsiCo, or you look at, any of these large companies, these companies are going to be held responsible by the market to deliver billions and billions of growth every quarter. That is not easy. Your CEO, and I know a new CEO is in the process of taking over or has just taken over, the demands on this individual are immense. They have to find another 5 billion in market share at profitable levels, right? For that stock price to go up. That's not easy. So governing large workforces is hard, and not everybody has the skills to be able to govern workforces of that size and that capacity. But from an employee perspective, I would ask you to think about this. College campuses, for example, will advertise, oh, you know what? The best companies come to our campus, right? The Googles, the Facebooks, the big giants of every industry, Indian Oil, Coal India Limited, ITC, all of these big companies, they come to our campus to recruit. Now, please understand, while these are great brands and they are great businesses, they have been built over a period of time. And entry-level positions in a lot of these businesses are going to be very structured positions. For that matter, even mid-level positions in a lot of these businesses are going to be highly structured positions, and they are positions that are easy to replace. So this is something that has to be understood. And from that perspective, a lot of people would do better if they take on being a bigger fish in a smaller pond, where you can own more of that pond, right? So if you look at my own career, I went from big companies to smaller companies, and my salary grew in multiples because I was a bigger fish in a smaller pond, and I could really own more of that pond. The other thing I could do is, the larger the organization, the more you are dependent on the appraisal process, and the more you are dependent on, vertical promotions. So you're growing in your function. But in smaller ponds, you can create horizontal promotions. And for horizontal promotions, where you're growing your scope, your indispensability in an organization, you're not dependent on the company. There are a number of strategies that you can use to grow your career, where you're not dependent on the appraisal process. You can break free of that process. Now, again, all of these things are not taught in the formal system of education. So they are not it's not your fault that you don't know this. I mean, if you ask the formal system of education, how do I grow my career? The answer is a square plus b square equals a square plus b square plus 2ab. They give you a mathematical formula. But now that you know it, it is your responsibility to learn this, because for most of us, our job or whatever business that we're involved with, that drives the economic engine of our life.
Okay. Hope that answered your question. Yeah. Okay. So moving on, I don't know this person's name because it's their phone number that shows up. They ask, how can one change their approach or mindset from technical to soft skills or business skills? How does that happen? How do we move on to shift our mindset?
So that is what I was talking about earlier, where you have to work on your leadership skills. Now, this is not that one is at the cost of the other. Okay. It's not that you're supposed to have technical skills at the cost of soft skills. See, please understand, school and college primarily give you subject matter knowledge or domain expertise. You learn coding, you learn different computer languages, right? But they don't teach you how to monetize that. How to monetize that means mastering human interaction. Because today you have to deal with a team. You have to be responsible for people across different countries, right? Now, you've learned that in general, in the manner in which you have been brought up. And some people are okay at it. Some people are a little better at it. And some people are really not good at it, right? And that is limiting the manner in which you are able to monetize all of your technical knowledge. It's being brought to life through how you handle people and situations, right? So if you learn that in a more systematic manner, the compounding impact that will happen is going to be something that you can appreciate right now, but you cannot fully understand the power of it. It's like, how you see a young man smoking a cigarette. Okay. You see a young man outside the office smoking a cigarette, and you go up to him and you say, "Beta, cigarette phek de, bahut buri cheez hai," right? Throw that cigarette, it's not good. Now that person can appreciate कि आप जो कह रहे हो उनके हित में कह रहे हो. What you're telling them, you're saying it for their benefit. But because the heart attack is not going to happen tomorrow, they are not going to quit smoking. Right? That heart attack is going to come after 20 years of continuous smoking. And at that point, it will be too late. So the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is right now. So your soft skills don't come at the cost of your hard skills. They both are important. You'll get hired because of your hard skills more likely, especially in junior to mid-level positions. Your hard skills will play a stronger role in getting you hired, but your soft skills will get you promoted. So how they have to combine together is based on, you see, all people here are working for the same company. But each individual here is a unique individual. They have a unique story, a unique identity, unique limitations, unique positives, and they've had a unique career journey. So it's not a one size can fit everybody kind of approach. It has to take into account who they are as a person, what their career has been about, what their aspirations for the future are like. And then how do you give them that roadmap where they can do it in an accelerated manner? Because it is not just what you're going to learn. It's also the time over which you're going to learn it and the order in which you will learn it that will allow you to accelerate your career.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that. So I'm going to just combine a couple of questions here by Vignesh and by Jaiprakash. So somebody wants to know about networking skills, on how important it is in career growth. And the other person's asking about how does one carve out influence leadership? So these are different questions, Sawan sir.
Okay. Networking is something that will pay dividends over a long term. Typically what happens is, when do you approach a recruiter? You approach a recruiter when you are on your notice period. आपको recruiter की याद तब आती है जब 90 दिन रह गए and now I need a job, so I'm going to write some very polite letters to recruiters. Here are my skills. Here is who I am. This is, this is me, and I'm marketing myself to you. So yes, you are at their mercy, right? If they find the right mix in you, they may respond to you. right? But that is why networking is an art, and you have to learn how to be a networking machine, right? And it is just an attitude. Because when you touch base with people, when you don't have a need, right? The manner in which you create relationships and the manner in which you network, it is going to explode. So I can tell you, Rajan reached out to me a couple of weeks ago, sir, can you have this session? I'd like to share it with my colleagues. And I have been packed chock-a-block. It's just been crazy. Last 3 days, I've been in an event. Before that was a 2-day live workshop that I was holding. It's just been crazy. Tomorrow, I'm spending the entire day with some influencers, talking and discussing and learning about how to get to millions of followers on social media and all of that. And then day after is my wife's birthday, so I will be occupied with that. See, आदमी घर के बाहर शेर हो सकता है, घर के अंदर दुर्गा माँ ना शेर पे सवार होती है. So for everybody who is married, it's very important to keep that perspective. The day of the wife's birthday, don't forget that day. Otherwise, you will pay a very heavy price for it. So that day I am occupied with my personal life, and then, I have some other commitments. So I've just been very, very packed. And, the individual that we had, moderating the event, unfortunately took slightly unwell and they were not able to make it. So last minute, I said, you know what, it would be nice to have somebody moderate the session, because I know people here work for the same company and they may not want to ask certain questions publicly in that manner. So I reached out to Sulabha to say, Sulabha, are you available? And she said, of course I'm available. So this is the power of networking in action, right? When you touch base with people, not just when you have a need, but you keep that relationship alive, even at times when there isn't a need, that is when networking pays off. And the second part of the question they mentioned, Sulabha, was?
Yes, the influence leadership. How does somebody carve out an influencing sort of a leadership? Now, this question seems to be repeating in many other points as well. They're talking about assertive leadership. Somebody wanted to know about that. Influential leadership. How does somebody get to that?
Right. So influence is actually a strength, right? Your ability to exert influence is to be able to shape the outcomes of situations where you do not have the authority to shape that outcome. So that comes from who you are as a human being, because you cannot claw your way to the top of a company, right? You cannot आप औरों के ऊपर पांव रख के ये चढ़ाई अपने करियर में नहीं चढ़ पाएंगे. You'll not be able to get to a greater position by stepping over other people. People have to carry you to the top, and they will only carry you to the top because of who you are as a human being. So you have to be interested more in other people's success than your own success. In fact, your success is an outcome of helping other people become successful. Now, this is a very beautiful, nice line to say, but it is very difficult to do, because people compete. Unhealthy egos compete. When it comes to that project, you want to shine, you want to take credit. At that point, if you're not mindful, what will you do? You will try to compete with the other colleague and say, nahi, maine isme zyada kaam kiya tha, right? And that is what that is what is not going to get you to leadership. So developing those skills, you see, the funny thing is that in a classroom, the lesson is being given first and the test comes afterwards. But in life, the test comes first and the lesson comes later. So knowledge is not equal to application. Being aware of this concept doesn't mean that you have mastered this concept. There is a lot of videos on free yoga available on YouTube. How many people do yoga? Right. So the point that I'm trying to make is, if you don't put it as a part of your priorities to grow yourself in your career, because see, an individual over the course of their entire career is going to be associated with 17 distinct opportunities. Some maybe a little more, some maybe a little less. These are numbers from the department, the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. White collared workers, so skilled professional workers in India, over the course of a 30 to 40-year career, will be associated with 17 distinct opportunities. Now, some of them could be promotions, some of them could be changing jobs, switching careers, all of that. But this is going to drive the economic engine of your life. So if you don't understand how to get the right opportunities, then you are limiting what that opportunity is going to return to your life. So that's why it becomes so important. And there are many of these different, buzzwords: assertive leadership, servant leadership, influential leadership. And I can define all of these, but the point is the core, the common denominator across all of them is leadership. And leadership is about one thing. It's about helping others win. It's about taking the blame. When something goes wrong, you have to take the blame. You're looking in a mirror, and when something goes right, you're looking through a window. You have to give credit to others. That doesn't mean, shy away from a great job that you did. Learn to step into your confidence and accept a compliment as well. There has to be a balance between these things. But you cannot claw your way to the top of a company. You have to be carried there. So that is how you will get to that point.
Amazing. Okay, so Tanmay wants to know, spoke about bad toxic environments and managers who are the leaders, and that's the reason why maximum people leave their jobs. So he says, as a top management, as CEOs or CFOs, what are the steps that they should take, in order for such toxic environments not to exist?
See, I will tell you this in general. If you are facing a toxic environment, then you need to keep a few things in mind. First of all, you are saying it's a toxic environment, and it well could be a toxic environment. But a lot of times what happens is, when you are being pushed to come out of your comfort zone, it can start to feel like it is a toxic environment when it is not a toxic environment. So again, this requires diagnosis. Is it really a toxic environment? Or is it an environment that is asking you to come out of your comfort zone, and you are resisting coming out of your comfort zone and calling it a toxic environment? That's one, right? The other thing you have to understand is there are places where the working culture is toxic, right? And you have not opened an institute to correct that organization. You don't have it probably in your scope to be able to correct the bad work culture there. In fact, people who do have it in their direct scope to give shape to the culture of a company, even they can very often struggle with it. So if it is not in your direct scope, you are fighting an uphill battle. But it's very important to do the diagnosis. A tough boss is not necessarily a bad boss, and that needs to be understood. But if the company is permitting such behaviors to exist, there could be definitely some elements where there are portions or divisions or areas within the organization that are, turning toxic. And again, it requires a diagnosis. It requires understanding what you went through, how you were treated. And again, it cannot just be your perspective. See, in an exam, you cannot write the exam and also give your own self the marks. आपने ही पेपर लिखा, आपने ही अपने आप को नंबर दिए और बस A grade आ गया, right? So when you write the exam, the school gives you the marks. Similarly, when you work for a salary, the company has the opportunity to comment on your performance, right? So these are some of the nuances that have to be understood. I think Ram Krishna has asked me a question here as well. Why the United Nations is not so efficient at good leadership, and we are facing issues like climate change and wars and problems like that. Well, these are very big things to solve where a lot of people have to be organized, right? आप अपनी कॉलोनी में देख लीजिए, आप जिम्मा ले लीजिए अपनी कॉलोनी में भूख हटाने का, okay? That whoever is hungry in your colony, all of you people who have homes and kitchens and everything in your colony, take the leadership for 1 week to serve those people who go hungry in the colony where you live. It's not easy organizing just that much. So it's very easy to say what are the problems with the world. And the internet is a great place where unsuccessful people get to comment on successful people. We are only criticized by people who are doing less than us. So these are some very important things to understand, because people who are doing more, they have an appreciation कि दूसरा लगा हुआ है, उसको कितनी मेहनत लग रही है, कितना काम लग रहा है. And yet these are very pertinent issues. The question that this gentleman has asked is a beautiful question. We need more effective leadership. But the UN, when it specifically comes to the UN, unfortunately, it is a body that has an executive, but it doesn't have a legislature or a judicial element, right? They don't actually have the judicial power. They've been commenting a lot about the war between Ukraine and Russia, but have they been able to do anything about it? They can only shape world opinion. That is some of the limitations based on the charter on which the UN was formed. So there are some limitations there, but I think people need to do more in general. Have you contributed to some of those issues? Because that's something you can do immediately, right? So there is climate crisis going on. Did you go to the local beach and clean up the beach? Remove the plastic from the beach? If you've done that, then you have a better right to ask such a question.
Great. I think that was a very powerful thought, Sawan sir, to sort of end this conversation on that. On that note, if anybody does have a question, we could just take maybe a couple of them. But if you have a question, do key quickly. Yeah, but I think overall it was a great session, Sawan sir, because one is I love the way you spoke about how a toxic boss or a toxic environment is something which is, because it's a word that's very casually used today, and even I would be guilty of it, oh, this environment is very toxic. What do we exactly mean by that, right? So sometimes is the environment toxic, or is it us who's actually being toxic? Now that's a question we may have to ponder about. And I love the way you said a tough boss isn't a bad boss, right? So that's an amazing thought, I think. While because we were talking about
Sulabha, one of the people that I worked for, he was recently in India. He was visiting here just about, I think, two and a half months ago, and he's now a professor at Cornell University. And he trained me in a great way. He was a very good friend. He was always available, but he used to have these two boards in his office, these two signs in his office. And he saw something in me that at that time even I couldn't see in myself, and he really groomed that ability out of me, because I would go to him with the problem and I would vent and I would say, Dan, this has happened and that has happened. And he used to have these two boards, these two signages behind him. The first one used to say, no whining, no complaining, right? And the second one used to say, fix it. So whenever I used to go in all charged up and say, this has happened and that has happened, and we need to do this, and how can that person treat me this way, and how can they not listen to what we have to say? He would just say, no whining, okay, no complaining. And then he used to say, fix it. He says, if you want to talk about it, I'm happy to go out for a beer at the end of the day. We'll sit at the bar, we'll have a chat. But right now we're at work. You're not allowed to complain. Please focus on the solution and get it done. Think about how do you need to behave to overcome the unfair hand of cards that you have been dealt. And I can tell you, working for him was such a pleasure, because it really forced me to think of these solutions and bring out my own leadership capacity.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. So on that note, thank you everybody for joining us today. And one last time, let me remind you, you could catch up with Sawan Kapoor on what he does, on how busy his life looks. And of course, maybe he'll share some pictures of after his wife's birthday as well on Sawan.Kapoor. Okay, on Instagram, that's the handle. And thank you so much for all the love that you've showed me as well. So many DMs. Yeah, thank you so much. Sulabha Santosh is my Instagram handle as well, if you wish to stay connected on Instagram, that is. Yes, it was an absolute pleasure, Sawan sir. It came just out of the blue. Like you said, yesterday, I mean, this morning when I woke up, I wasn't aware that I'm going to be hosting this session. I've had to make a lot of movements through the day, but absolute pleasure connecting with you and learning so much from you all, as always. Okay, so we have a lot of summits coming up that way. So if each of you if you think you would like to be a lifelong learner, please stay connected over Instagram, because that's when you're going to know what are the programs that he's part of, and you can listen to him, and he's going to dole out so many parts of his wisdom freely and in all those summits, and you would definitely have fun. Oh yes, thank you
Well,
so much, Jayendra Singh.
I just like to, I just like to say that teachers and students, it's an unbroken link that connects us, because every teacher was once a student. So I'm going to play just a small role in your journey, because somebody played that role for me, and the biggest reward for me as a teacher is that someday you will play that role for someone else. So it's just been wonderful to be here with all of you.
And Savanji, today happens to be Guru Purnima. I wanted to say that to you. So thank you so much. It is Guru Purnima today. Okay,
yes,
so
it is.
Thank you so much for all the wisdom. Thank you.
Oh, it's been a pleasure to be here with all these TCSers, and I can see the wonderful faces of so many people who've been listening, with so much interest, and it's an honor to be here with you. Thank you for having me. Thanks again to Rajan Pillay, who invited us to be a part of this session. And if I can help any of you in your journey, just reach out to us. You can send us an email if you like at connect@sawankapoor.com, or you can connect with us on Instagram, or you can send me a request to follow me on LinkedIn. Would be very happy to help you in your journey. And Sulabha, thanks again. As always, we've had a few of these sessions together. I know we did a number of sessions when the Clubhouse app was launched. I think we did about 10-20 sessions over there, and they became wildly popular. Yeah. And there were like 2,000, 3,000 people per session. So it was very interactive Q&A even in those sessions. So
absolutely,
always so much fun to have the opportunity to connect with you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. So TCSers, until we meet you next time, this is Sulabha signing off and saying, keep shining. See you, Sawan sir.
Thank you so much. Take care, everyone. All the very best. I hope you are happy and healthy. I hope your families are doing amazingly well. And I look forward to staying connected. Take care. And thank you once again for your time and your attention and your energy. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm going to turn on the spotlight. I can see some people saying thank you. And I want to receive all of that love, because, it's your love and your warmth that inspires me to do what I do. So thank you so much.
You could turn on your camera. Let's actually take a picture. We've done a picture. We could do that. I could take a picture.
We can absolutely do that. We can absolutely do that.
Okay, that's amazing. Just switch on your cameras or your names or. Amazing. I'm just going to give you like 1 more minute for that. Awesome. I just realized it is Guru Purnima today, and it's so beautiful that for each of you who came here, I told you there are no accidents. You came here for a reason today. You had to hear this. You had to be part of this session today. Thank you, Praveen. Yes. Thank you, Sachin. Thank you, Nina.
Thank you, everyone. It's been such a pleasure. If you want to take a picture and you want to tag us, you want to post it on social media, it would be lovely. Thank you so much. And I want to tell you, if somebody gave me the opportunity, to take a bet that these are the people who are going to rise, I can tell you, there was, like Sulabha was saying, you showed up here for a reason. I know it's just the start of the work week, and I know all of you are busy. I know there is a big enough to-do list in front of you. घर के ये काम करने हैं, ऑफिस के ये काम करने हैं, बॉस को ये पहुंचाना है, टीम को ये जवाब देने हैं. So please understand, your being here was not a coincidence. आपका यहाँ इस कमरे में मेरे साथ आज होना इत्तेफाक नहीं था. All right, we were destined to meet at this point, and I can tell you the honor and the privilege has been mine. So thank you so much for being here today, and I look forward to staying connected as you take your journeys forward.
Awesome. So if you're active on social media, please post a picture and tag us. I've just shared our details there. That would be happy as well.
Thank you, Nagaraju. Thank you so much, Murali. Thank you, Satish. Appreciate your kind words. Great. All right, everyone, have a brilliant day and have a wonderful week. All the very best. Take care and Jai Hind. Thank you. Thank you, Vivekanandan. Thank you, Jay Prakash. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you.